Some people want direction, but for those that don't, leading means helping them get where they want to go without being pushed. And that starts with great questions. That's this week on the Badass Agile podcast. Greetings, team. Welcome to the Badass Agile podcast. I'm your host, Chris Williams. Welcome back, friends. Thank you so much for joining once again. I appreciate you tuning in from wherever you happen to be. Listen, this week I want to talk about how when you're leading, you can't usually push. You might know where you want to steer people, or you may leave that up to the individual or team. But see, part of coaching is bringing your expertise and certainty to the game. So how do you do that? Well, first, let's take a moment to remember why we're here. To create an elite tribe of leaders who truly serve their clients and communities by doing what matters and what works, relentlessly chasing value and excellence like a badass. There's so many resources out there about what you need to do to be agile, but we're focused on who you need to become in order to lead teams. So let's hammer down those fundamentals to create a truly unique and powerful force in this industry. Now remember, if this helps you, tell your friends, drop me a note, let me know what you think. You can also find us in the Badass Agile Facebook Listener Lounge. Find us on Clubhouse, find us in Twitter Spaces, check us out on LinkedIn. All right, questions help people uncover where they want to go, but they can also help create rails, which I call freedom with safety. We talk so much about how it's inappropriate or not powerful to motivate people with sticks and carrots. And that's very, very true. People want to feel like they're in charge of their own destiny. People want to feel like they're in charge of their own jobs. People want to feel like they're capable of accomplishing whatever they want. People want to feel trusted. People want to feel motivated. People want to feel happy at work. So sometimes when you're trying to move people, you can't push them off of wherever they happen to be to wherever you think they need to go. They have to know where they want to go themselves, and they have to find their own reasons and motivations for moving out of their comfort zone and into something unknown, challenging, or different. Questions puts the exploration back in their lap. It takes the role of coach, which is you, whether you're a scrum master, an actual coach, or any other kind of leader in an agile team or environment, and it gives you tools that you can put in your toolkit to motivate people, but not by pushing, not through force, not by convincing with logic and reason, because as we know, nobody makes decisions based on logic and reason. They make decisions based on emotion. Now, great questions can help you get there. Great questions force people to start thinking, examining, and connecting the dots between the vision, the place where we all collectively want to go, and the actions that we're taking on the daily to get there. So there's some examples of really great questions that you should always have in your back pocket. Now, you know I'm not big on scripts, but I want you to get a sense of what these questions do and invite in terms of that exploration. So let's think it through. First great question is, what do you want? Now, you can ask this when you're dealing with executives, leaders, buyers, people in the organization who want agile, but they're not exactly sure why. When you ask people what they want, you're forcing them to start thinking about articulating what's valuable to them. Now, value is the magnetic north of any product backlog, whether it's technical or non-technical. When you ask a product owner or a leader what they want, they will eventually start telling you what outcomes they're being measured on, they're being evaluated on, that are meaningful to them. They will hopefully also tell you about the more important guiding principles, visionary elements that drive what they do. What's the picture that they see when they think about the future? Now, it's also important to be able to ask this question of individuals, people on your team, your developers, your analysts, whoever. You have project managers hanging around. It doesn't matter what role they occupy. It's good to know what they want. It's a powerful question because when they're doing things that you in your heart know are not conducive to getting agile outcomes, you can ask them, what do you value? What are you all about? Why are you here? Once you ask those questions, you force people to start examining what it is they actually want. And that can sometimes be powerful simply because the next question you ask might be, if that's what you want, how is it that what we're about to do today moves us closer to getting it? Do you agree that what we're doing, that what we're saying, that how we're acting and how we're believing is actually going to help you get more of what you want and less of what you don't? It's also the gold standard measure of evaluating our performance. At the end of the week, we can say, what did we say we wanted? What did we actually get? Are they different? And if they're different, why are they different? And what are we going to do to change it for the next period? Now, another question you can ask when people tell you what they want is to ask, why do you want that? Because sometimes when people tell you what they want, it may seem a little bit superficial. It may seem like it's just scratching the surface, or it may even feel untrue. But when you ask, why do you want that? We keep digging. So what do you want? Well, I really want to get this product out to market by next Tuesday. Okay, why do you want that? Well, I want first mover advantage. Okay, well, why do you want that? Well, I want to impress my boss. I want to do a great job and I want to get that performance review. Okay, now we're starting to learn a little bit about what actually moves you, and that's important to know. Here's another great question. Sometimes we know what we want, and sometimes we're failing to get there. We're not making great progress, we're encountering blockers, and those blockers can seem big, immovable, or they can cause significant delays. When that happens, a great question is, what else might get you there? So you know what a person wants, you know what motivates them. They've taken the bother to tell you what lights them up emotionally, but they're not getting there. And sometimes, as we all know, the thing that actually blocks us from moving is our fears, our beliefs about why we can't have them, or why the thing that's in the way is too scary to move. So when that happens, sometimes you can get people moving, get the creative juices flowing simply by asking what else might work. And hey, if you have the courage, you can always ask them, what are the beliefs that we have about the blockers or the amount of work or the amount of courage that it's going to take to get ourselves where we want to go? Ask people, why can't we be faster? Ask people, what do we believe about why we can't be different? What do we believe that causes us to feel that we can't do this? We're not entitled. Those kinds of questions can really expose some deep-seated beliefs that have organizational roots that indicate a problem with culture, a problem with leadership, or a problem with individual belief systems. Another great question you can ask is, when I say X, what does that make you think of? So when I say victory, what's that make you think of? When I say speed, what does that make you think of? When I say success, what comes up? These are great questions to expose people's biases and their gut reactions to words and concepts that can, quite frankly, be scary or be foreign. Here's another great question. When have you seen this work or not work? Sometimes it's really, really powerful to point people in the direction that, you know what, this is doable. We have done this before. It's a subtle reminder that the only thing that stands in your way is you and that little pinkish grayish thing between your ears. If you can ask people, when did this last work well? Who have you seen do this successfully? When have we run this experiment in the past and had a positive outcome? And what's different than what we might be doing or thinking right now? Here's another great question when you're stuck. When things are getting challenging and emotions are heating up, people may be starting to panic. People may be starting to lose their trust, to lose their faith, to lose their vision. Ask the question, what's really happening? Let's get honest about what's going on. Let's stop thinking at an engineering level about all the different moving parts what could be contributing to failure, and let's get right to the root. All of us have that sense of what's not working, what's not moving, and sometimes these can be difficult conversations to have because they point to individuals or groups of individuals and their actions. And we're so afraid of being seen as passing judgment, of being unsatisfied or discontent with another person. Basically, we don't want to hurt other people, which is fine. But at some point, we do have to ask the question, what's really going on here? Or we're never going to change and get better. Here's a question that can sometimes guide us through crisis when we're stuck in spinning and thinking and contemplating, is to simply say what's most important to you, or what is most important to do now. This gets people thinking about prioritization. When you say what's really most important to you, you're not just asking what do you want, which is one of our previous questions, but we're actually being bold and saying, of all the things that you want, which is the one that we need to focus on and get done? Inherent in that question is the caveat that by focusing on that most important thing, everything else on your list might not get done or may not get done this week. It's a great question. The last one that I think we need to get good at asking, but also teaching other leaders to ask more frequently, is what do you need to make that happen? So when people say can't, when people say I'm struggling, when people say we're slower than we thought, this is more difficult than we thought, when we're obviously spinning, when we're obviously not making the progress we want to make, simply ask, what do you need to make that happen? What is missing? What are you not getting? Or maybe, what haven't we asked for? See, that question can expose so many faults in the way that we work together because we don't trust each other enough to say, I need you to give me X so I can give you Y. We don't trust ourselves. We don't want to be seen as failures. We don't want to ask for help because we don't want to be seen as needing help. But until we ask for it, we often don't get it. So sometimes as a leader, you can grease that wheel by offering instead. What do you need to make that happen? What can I do? And when people tell you what they need, the next thing out of your mouth should be, great, let me take care of that for you. Now, friends, I think the most important thing about questions is that it conditions us to do something that so many of us don't do well, which is to listen and to be curious. So often as leaders and coaches, we tend to think that our value is in transmitting what we know, by telling, by instructing, by philosophizing, by offering. And in truth, teams already have almost everything they need to get where they want to go. It's a question of bringing out their best, bringing out their own self-belief, surfacing the answers that are locked deep within their heads. And questions can make that all happen for you. So there's a great skill that I want you to work on this week. And don't hesitate to write in. Let me know how this works for you. As always, friends, you can find me on the web at badassagile.com or on Twitter at badass_agile. I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, stay badass.